Let me explain the requirements of a TOM project in this video and the next few videos. First, the objective of this TOM project is for you to practice object-oriented software design paradigms and software design patterns you have learned in this semester. In doing so, you are going to develop an animation-based computer game using the provided game engine. In last few exercises, I've shown the basic idea of the game engine using the loop and the MVC architecture and the canvas and the like. So you are going to use the game engine and then develop animation based computer game. Here, animation based I mean by that the project must include enough objects whose behaviors are not based on user inputs such as a key press or mouse click and so on, but based on automatically moving animations like the UFO or the missiles. Once it launched by mouse click, it travels by itself. So you should have enough objects that's based on animation objects. So that's the requirements. So here's the details of TOM project requirements. First, the software architecture and structure should be based on the game engine provided, such as a game loop, and then MVC architecture, and then canvas with a double buffer idea. So note that no credits will be given if you do not utilize the game engine. If you develop game in your own way, you will not get any credit. But note that in the exercises you have studied for the game engine, the missile, UFO, the shooter, those are not part of the game engine, but I wanted to show how the game engine may work. So those are just the game characters. So except those ones, you need to use the loop and the architecture and the canvas, those ones as a part of a game engine. Second, in this example, I have shown you the main character which shoots a missile, but depending on your game choice, you may find some other main character which perfect fits the game you are going to develop. And then whatever the main character is, just add two weapons that main character can play with. But in your game, you may want to continue to use a missile as a part of the game. You may do that, but in that case anyway, just add two more weapons in addition to missiles if you are going to utilize a missile as well. And then enemy types. Here in the example, I have added a very simple UFO, but in your game, just add your own choice of two additional enemy types. You may use the UFO as is as a part of your game, but in that case, do not count the UFO as two enemy types. Here, what I mean by is types, not just objects. So if you have two UFOs, that's just one type. That's not two types. So you should have two different types of enemies, and each types may have multiple objects out of it. Suppose you have rains, acid rains falling from the sky. The acid rain is one type, and in your game you may have 20 acid rains falling and the like. So you should have two enemy types, not just objects. And each enemy type must implement the cool destroying effects using strategy design pattern that's required. And then each enemy type must spawn automatically based on the game rule of your own choice. That's the requirements. And then another requirement is that just use another design pattern in anywhere in your game. So the strategy pattern and observer patterns are demonstrated in the game engine, so you can choose one of those design patterns, not including strategy, observer, state, decorator, or builder. Just use those design pattern and use it in your actual game. So no strategy pattern is allowed. And the observer pattern in UFO is already demonstrated. Thus, if you want to use a UFO in your game, but observer pattern in UFO is not counted since all the codes are already there. So that's a second design pattern requirement. And then E, a new game using new idea is another requirement. So term project, 400 points are allocated, which is 40% of the course grade. Out of 400, 50 points are allocated if you design a new game. If you simply extend the missile shooting game as demonstrated in the game engine exercise, you don't get 50 points at all. So this 50 points is only if you develop a new game, which may be completely different from missile shooting game, or if even if it's a missile shooting game, you have a significantly new features that should be added. But new game is always the best way to claim 50 points. So you can create some other two-dimensional classical arcade like a game like a Breakout or Space Galaga or Space Invader or Pac-Man or Tetris and so on. But you can use those ideas to implement a new game using the given game engine. So which means without any no new ideas, you may simply enhance the missile shooting game. In that case, another choice is utilize efficient geometric algorithms for collision detections, as I briefly mentioned in the exercise, like red black tree or quad tree. And if you implement those complex algorithms for efficient collision detection, that will be counted as a new idea. So if you simply enhance the missile shooting game, either implement for efficient collision detection algorithm, or you may not get 50 points out of that. So if you use efficient collision detection algorithm, be sure to have only one array list, having both friendly objects and an enemy object, so that you can demonstrate the efficiency of the collision detection. So emphasize again, if you do not implement a new game idea, you can get only up to 350 points. And this project is an individual project, so project should be done individually, but you may share ideas, but bottom line is must not share any part of the written program code. So in this term project, you are going to apply the Scrum method as you have watched the video earlier. In the Scrum Agile method, it is based on team project. In that case, just regard that as a one-member team, so you should play all the roles in this project. But anyway, we are going to maintain the Scrum Agile in documentation like sprint backlog and product backlog and the like.